Tuesday, October 12th, the Planning and Zoning Commission took their monthly meeting on the road. The Commission is charged with the responsibility of making an informed recommendation to City Council for a new zoning ordinance affecting the island and primary corridor areas of Stafford. This ordinance also includes regulations regarding existing and future non-conforming site improvements. For nearly 2 years, consultants, an ad hoc committee, and staff met to discuss the ordinance, and they recommended a plan of action for the Planning and Zoning Commission to consider. Zoning Administrator Gene Bain organized a bus tour of the island area, Highway 90A, and Murphy Road to give the Planning and Zoning Commission a better idea of what the proposed ordinance would entail. The public was invited to participate. The meeting was called to order by Chairman Felix Vega in a City Hall conference room, then continued aboard the chartered bus.
We'd like to call the meeting to order. We're having a meeting of the Stafford Planning and Zoning Commission. Also, a special meeting of the Site Improvements Ad Hoc Committee of the Stafford City Council. And a special meeting of the Site Improvements Ad Hoc Committee of the Stafford Economic Development Corporation. You want to take a roll call? Sure.
All commissioners are in attendance except Virginia Roses, who is at a seminar.
Thank you. Okay, we have we'll go to number 2. Item number 2, discussion and consideration of the September 7th, 2010 regular Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes. Anybody have any comments or motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept them as
Second. Motion has been made, second. All in favor? Okay, then I guess we're getting ready to. We're not going to close this.
No, sir.
We'll just
We just
call it
move
over
to-
to
we
move
just
it over
move
to the bus.
Yes.
Can't take no food, you gotta eat fast.
Move this meeting over to the bus.
All right, you want to ride.
Once the bus leaves, we're going to go to the far west side of town and start at Classic Chevrolet, the portion of the Classic Chevrolet that's in Stafford, and then we'll be coming east. We will look at the South Main there until we get to Murphy Road, then we'll turn right, go in front of the Kroger Center, and then come back from Avenue E back towards Main, and then proceed east again until we get to the end of the island. Then we will turn around and go west on North Main until we get to Murphy Road, turn right on Murphy Road, and then all the way to city limit line, and then turn around and come back towards City Hall.
If you can see along here, a lot of the landscaping, that's part of the landscaping that the city provided further up, and we'll look at it when we come back. That's why the IS was grandfathered, because of the multi-million dollars that the city put in landscaping up in the IS. I know many of you commissioners, you had questions and comments regarding why the PC landscaping was different than the IS requirements. Well, part of it, the city paid for the IS landscaping requirements, and that's why they're different. Just want to explain a difference in the landscape requirements in the PC and the IS. In the PC, currently under the proposed ordinance, the landscaping requirements are grandfathered in. That means that they don't have to meet the requirements of the ordinance unless there's some new development. As opposed to the IS, the area that we just passed, the Island District, in that area, it's determined that they meet the ordinance requirements because of all the landscaping that the city put in. So if someone comes in and they do more development in the IS, they will meet the requirements without having to do any additional requirements. Does everybody understand the difference between the grandfather and the BC and meeting the requirements in the IS? Currently, under the ordinance, with all the landscaping that the city's done, it's determined that they meet our landscape requirements. But any construction or anything that you do in the PC, you have to meet the current requirements.
If there's a 5-acre tract and they develop,
When I talk about the own lot requirement, it's the right-of-way requirements and the landscaping that's on the street. The own lot requirements.
Yeah, that's very important for everybody to understand.
What the mayor's question was whether or not if somebody develops a lot in the island, whether or not they still have to meet the own lot requirements. Yes, they still have to meet the own lot requirements. Whether or not how many trees you can have, you must have per acre or whatever, you have to meet those requirements. It's just the landscaping that's on the front of the building and on the side of the building. They do not have to meet those. The city has already met those requirements for them in the island.
Okay, we're here at Classic Chevrolet. This is the furthest westernmost point of the city. Does anybody have any concerns or questions about Classic Chevrolet or even the bowling alley, which is next, and also there's some medical office buildings. We won't be able to pull into every driveway, so what we're going to try to do is the ones that are most accessible, we'll pull in and then try to look at the properties as far as we can. Does anybody have any questions about the bowling alley or Classic Chevrolet or the medical office buildings east of us?
Gene, can you take one of them for example and just look at this and then say what is the implication for one of the properties as an example here?
On the property valuations, the sheet that you have in front of you, it has the site improvement requirements, whether it has accessory uses, a drive-through, open storage, outdoor displays, and then the street trees, landscape trees and shrubs and the paving, the feet of sidewalk. That was all, this was the earliest document that we had from the study, and so those now have all been, the sidewalk has been eliminated and the street tree, landscape, shrubs, that's what Art was talking about where the 98 improvement project put those in. So here at 13115 Southwest Freeway, which is the address of Classic Chevrolet, it has some open storage. It has an outdoor display, but I think that's wrong about the outdoor display. He may have been thinking about the dealership when the consultant was down here. And I really haven't seen the outdoor storage. I drove down through here today, so this may be wrong. But the next property, it says a drive-through. He's got it marked as yes. He has open storage there, but there again, I don't know where this open storage is at 4919 or the outdoor display, which is the bowling alley in the medical office building. Any questions?
So they're looking at no change on these properties then?
No.
End result is no change for these several properties.
Correct. What the question was what change would the proposed ordinance have on the properties where we currently are? The bowling alley and the service center. Only the service center is in the city limits. Under the proposed ordinance, there would be no change.
So what this says 15 trees, 141, but this chart indicates.
That was under the original proposed ordinance, not when the grandfather come in. So that's not the latest.
So that is red dot, that means down.
Yes.
Gotcha.
My question is, if we were not to allow outside storage, why would they need the fencing? Would the fencing be removed?
No.
They can continue
They
using
still
it.
have.
There's no way to have remove fencing.
You can, but it's kind of hard to rationale.
Even if it's the wire.
I think you can.
That's what I'm wondering. It's cheaper just to remove the fencing than to say change your fencing if they don't need the fencing.
Right.
If
But
they're not-
most of the people have the fence if there's a need for the fence, whether it's to keep some them in or to keep somebody out.
Okay, if it's to keep somebody out, okay.
Or for just
Parkway Center, shopping center.
Okay, so we can't dictate that really.
Or the property
Just the
behind
type
you,
of
your
fencing.
Is there any requirements on this?
Okay.
Since there is no landscaping, is there any requirement related to landscaping?
No, sir, there's no additional landscaping requirements for this property. They had landscaping until the road widening, and then TxDOT took the landscaping out. They all had landscaping at one point.
Thank you.
Not even the landscaping within the parking lot, like, you know, every so many park spaces?
That landscaping didn't come into play until years later.
Okay.
Now, if they do improvements here, then they have to grandfather the landscaping in to bring it up to speed.
Yes. I think the question was if they redevelop this lot or they start redeveloping with the proposed requirements of the additional on-lot landscaping, would that apply? Yes, it would.
Just like the other.
Once you start doing development on it, then it would apply. But the street landscaping, they wouldn't have to do anything additional. But any on-lot, it would have to apply. It would start applying once they start developing.
So on this one here, then we're looking at 27 trees and 219 shrubs for this property if they do a redevelopment.
Well, I guess, I don't know, I'd have to look at the plan, but that's what his estimate was. But there would be, if this property was to be completely redeveloped, you would have to go in conformance with the present landscaping ordinance, which would require shrubs, trees, street trees, parking lot trees, etc. But as it is right now, there is no additional landscaping imposed on this property.
Didn't leave much to work
Now, in order for
When you say redevelop, that wouldn't be just if they wanted to do the front of the building or reface it or change the cosmetics. Is that bring in to play the landscaping changes?
They wouldn't be required to do any additional landscaping if they were just to do remodels inside the lease space or change the front elevation of the building. Only if the building was totally destroyed and rebuilt. Or a new maybe a medical office building came in here, a 3-story medical office building. Then they would have to comply with all the city rules, whether it's off-street parking, landscaping, screening, all the other ordinances that we have. We'll leave here now, and then we're going to go through the intersection at Dulles Avenue.
What type of surface is this that we're on now?
Asphalt.
Asphalt.
Are there any questions about the properties that we just passed?
Repeat it.
Dean, is there any, this is more generic, but like the parking lot, suppose the parking lot gets pretty much in disrepair. Are there any requirements, or where would that come in, zoning or otherwise, in terms of that, or if they let this thing go very state of total disrepair, do we have any regulations related to that?
The mayor was asking if there are any regulations on the books that would require a current asphalt parking lot to be maintained. Not exactly, but usually the property owner himself tries to maintain them just because of his customers. But there's certain situations where Scott can go up there and talk to them about repairing their parking lot.
But one thing that the ordinance would require is that on those that have the use. I'm from
I
West
think you're
Texas.
doing fine.
I'm from West Texas. I don't need a mic.
No, they can't hear it.
They can hear me, but she can hear me. One of those, one exception though is on when you have the use. When we talk in the ordinance about the use for the trucks, there is a requirement for those that have the heavy equipment trucks or the buses, the ones that have the gross vehicle weight that makes them the heavy trucks. Those surfaces will have to be kept up to standard. That's part of the requirement in order of the zoning requirement that's in the proposed ordinance. And that was one specific section that you amended when we were going through the proposed ordinance, where you have where they use it for buses or use it to store trucks. When they use that, those surfaces have to be not kept dust free, and they also have to be kept in good repair. Unlike your normal commercial surface out here, that's normally the owners, unless it creates some other health hazard. Other than that, there's not. We don't have a regulation about a strip center or a business like this maintaining their parking lot in a smooth way. Or even,
So concrete is not a requirement anywhere.
no. Any other questions, issues, concerns on the little bit that we've seen so far? Now this area back over here, it is in the PC. That residential area back there, it is in the PC. It's not in the IS. It's in the primary corridor.
But they won't have any. It won't impact them. Right.
No,
Right.
no,
Okay.
it will not.
Are we looking at signage at all?
How about that building?
This building, what about the building?
Are they in compliance?
As far as the landscaping, or as far as what?
The new ordinance, is there any violation that would have to be brought up to speed because of the new ordinance?
No.
So the new ordinance has no effect on that particular property?
That goes way back there. That goes way back there to the planning commission.
No, it would not. It would not. Can't, no. The ordinance would not have. There's not a requirement in the proposed ordinance that would make them do anything additional.
The ordinance that we're working on the PC and the IS doesn't address uses. It only addresses the site improvements. So as you see this car lot right here, there's nothing in the ordinance that would affect this business right here, or any of these businesses actually.
One of the things though, that if you notice, you see the tree line that's right there, even though the ordinance doesn't affect that use, one of the things that the city can do is improve that little tree line, make it thicker there, because it is our right of way. When it grows up, then you kind of shield that. And now as a business, they may not care for that, but that is our right of way. So in those type of things, even without addressing the use, the city still can. Even though we had just a little bit of trees there and plants there, we could put more trees and plants there, and then that helps beautify the city, and it's in the right of way, and so you can do it that way.
They don't even like what's there now.
I understand that.
What about?
But that would, basically, we would be doing that for the entire corridor. You can't pick out specific businesses to change your requirements, or can you?
That's cool. Well, if you look at this corridor now, I mean, it's much greenage there now, and they can't complain.
Right.
No, what I'm saying, if we double the amount of trees, you can't do it for one specific business. You're doing it for the corridor.
Well, you can do it in those areas that you think are bringing the visual look of the city down. The city can use foliage to do that. I mean, you can do that in an area that you think in this corridor that makes the corridor less beautiful. You in the city's right of way, you can plant more foliage there.
Oh, in the right of way, we can plant whatever we want.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
What about the fences that we see on those properties?
The fences on property currently, those are grandfathered in, and in our if they were to do something, then they would have to comply. If they were to,
Even if they were in need of repair.
well, we have ordinances that can make them repair. It's not in the zoning ordinance, but in our current ordinance we can.
Hooker Center and all the way to Avenue E is in the PC zoning district also.
For those of you that worked on the provision in regards to PNC, in regards to in the PC, the special use permit that's required for do a business in the PC that's adjacent to a residential area, and you know the requirements that are there, the fencing, those type of requirements. That's to address these situations where if this were to develop commercially, heavy commercial, with residential right behind it, a special permit would be required in order to protect those uses back there, the residential uses. And the proposed ordinance has some fence requirements and and some other restrictions on there. So that's what we talked about, where you have a commercial use by special permit in the PC.
A light industrial use.
Light industrial.
Would require a specific use permit. That would go before P&Z and City Council just like the rest of them.
Any effect on, for example, this property here on the proposed ordinance?
No.
It's not, you don't want that much wind?
I'll just read for you while we're moving some of the requirements that would have to go if light industrial were to be granted a specific use or special use permit. They would all the light industrial activities have to be performed entirely inside the structure. 50-foot setback to all the residential land that's there behind. No outdoor storage of equipment or products. No delivery between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. Monday through Friday, and between 11 p.m. and 9 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday. No garbage collections between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. Monday through Sunday. Structures must be constructed of masonry-type materials, including brick, stone, concrete block units, or precast concrete panels. The property must have a screening wall between the proposed project and the residential area. Also must have some screening shrubs. So that's, if light industrial use were to go in there, that's what the requirements are proposed in order to protect the residential use behind it.
All of this vacant property that you see is on PC.
Vacant land there, it is in the PC, but what is it currently zoned for?
PC?
No, that's the district. What is the zoning?
What use is the
Yes.
FM 1092 Murphy Road, we're going to turn left to get back up to Main. Everything to the right is in our ETJ. It's not in the city. On the right side of FM 1092 are two retail strip centers, Quail Ridge Plaza and Main Point Center. We'll turn right, and then we're going to try to look at the properties on either side, properties that are in the island and also that are on South Main. Are there any questions?
Is there an example around here that you can see that would be a proposed change because of the ordinance?
If you look ahead, you'll see broker's grass. It doesn't have any kind of paved surface. It just has a dirt parking area and that's where they park their trucks also. There would be some issues there with the proposed ordinance of making him come in and pave that with either an all-weather surface or with
concrete, asphalt, crushed aggregate, crushed limestone, or other similar materials, and it must be maintained dust-free. Because that would that's where you park commercial vehicles.
And what about landscaping? Are there any landscaping requirements?
No, sir, there wouldn't be any additional landscaping unless they redeveloped the property, but there could be some screening issues of screening their outdoor product.
Art, let me ask you too, that since this is the one that's in there, the latest consultant's suggestion about having I think the highest cost in this whole program to the property owner. What about the amortization issue that obviously I believe zoning and planning will be looking at in terms of its recommendation? Is there anything that we should address related to this property as to potential for amortization?
Well, what the mayor asked is about amortization, and that is where when you have a piece of property such as this one that doesn't meet the requirements, and then you give them the option, you either meet the requirements or if not, then that property the use of that type of use of that property must go away within a certain time frame. And so what you would do, you take the value of what the actual property is, not how much they make on the, not exactly how much they make on the property, what that value of the site improvements are, and then you amortize it out based upon a yearly method, how much the value is, how much they take in. And so depending on what the value is overall, then it goes away within a period of time. Under the current ordinance, what would happen is they would come in, they'll be told you need to comply, or you have to go away within X amount of time. They then get to come in and say, well, we want to stay or we want to go. If they decide that they want to stay, they have to present an amortization schedule, and they have to present all the information about how much it costs for the improvements. And we're only talking about the improvements. How much those improvements cost. You base that and find out what that is, and then you see how much those improvements make them, and then you come up with the schedule of how long they get to stay there. And so this is based on the consultant's recommendation, was I think the highest one we had. And so with at the highest use for the asphalt for the street, I mean for the parking lot, and with the screening, excuse me, and this is the highest one, it was $173,000. So I mean that's what it would cost for that property to comply, or if they did not want to comply, you amortize that out. But out of all the impact that the proposed ordinance would have, this would be the biggest impact, and that's $173,000. I think the next one is
But they would, if they
about
would be
18.
charged whether to pave at all, though, am I correct?
Yes, no, they would have to pave, but they wouldn't have to use the asphalt.
Right.
They could use the crushed aggregate as long as they kept it dust free.
Okay.
So that would reduce some of that cost.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Look, really, I got two. Number one, is there something that we're looking at here that because of the ordinance that's proposed, that if that building was to come down, could not be replaced by what we're seeing?
If it's something here that,
For instance, if one of these buildings had a fire and they had to rebuild it, under the ordinance, because 51% or whatever it is, they could not rebuild that facility, and that facility would have to drastically be changed or go away.
This particular use as a restaurant is a permitted use. It'd be allowed to be rebuilt back.
But I mean,
This is a paint and body shop. No, it wouldn't be allowed to be rebuilt back.
all right, so paint and body, no. The restaurant, yes. But in that building there, could they rebuild the same building that we're looking at, or would it have to be drastically changed because of the ordinance?
Not this particular ordinance. I mean, we've got some building standards that would apply, some landscaping requirements that would apply. Different ordinances would address that.
But this ordinance would not drastically change what we're seeing.
This ordinance wouldn't do anything to that building right there.
There are some other buildings further up here on the left that if they go down, they can't be rebuilt, period, because they don't meet any parking requirements, and they could never meet the parking requirements.
Can y'all point them out when we get to them?
You know, the little food place that's up here? Yeah, we'll point it.
Now here we have a tire store, the infamous tire store here in the city, what we used to call a hubcap place. Hubcaps have gone out of style, so we no longer call it that. But here they would have to be required. This would be some issues that what we call a non-conforming site improvement, where they have outdoor storage, or outdoor display, or outdoor sales, whatever classification they would fall under. There are some requirements in the ordinance that would require them to screen that.
All right, so this is an example. If the ordinance passes, they're going to have to do screening of the outdoor display and storage.
That's correct. If the ordinance in its final form addresses outdoor display and storage, the screening requirements, then this is one of them that would have to come into compliance and may have to amortize his property. He wouldn't be able to do it, and I guess he comes before city council and gets a time frame on when he has to come into compliance with the screening of it, or he just goes away.
And how do you look at this is the example there, which is storage and which is display, or in this case it's both.
Well, that's display. You can tell because of the fact that they they wheel most of that in. Most of that, you see it's on the wheels, so it's
Display.
yeah. But this out here, the rims, you could call that storage.
All right. So the rims is storage because they leave that there at night.
Yes.
But the stuff they bring in
that's
would
display.
classify as display.
Yeah, that's display.
You actually have two situations here. You have the outdoor display and also the outdoor storage.
And you also have a wired fence. We can't control that.
We can.
We can't change the ordinance.
You can. If there's storage or there's display in the ordinance, you have design standards for storage and fencing. And when you look, there's the little pictures that say these are the type of materials that you can use. So they would have to come into compliance if they're going to have display or storage out there. This is not the type of fence they could have. It has to be what? Right. Something where you can't, it has to be opaque, where you can't see through it, and it has to be made out of certain material. So you would not be able to see that. If they do come into compliance, you would not be able to see that out there.
There are some illustrations in your ordinance packet that describes the type of screening that would be required. Are there any questions about broker's grass? If not, we're going to move forward. We're going to go to
One question. Now, this is not only them, but anybody. How long do they have in order to comply with the ordinance after the ordinance is passed?
Well, the question is, how long do they have to comply with the ordinance after the ordinance is passed? That's going to be decided by the P&Z with the recommendation to the council. And then at that point, whenever that set period is set, at that point, they get to come in and ask for an extension on that period through amortization. But the P&Z with the recommendation to the council will determine when the ordinance actually comes into compliance. Because remember, on some of the properties, you've said, as the P&Z with the recommendation council, with the recommendation to the council, that you're going to grandfather some properties. So you get to make that decision. You as a P&Z and council members, you make that decision on when it actually applies. And once it applies, then the property owners, they decide whether they're going to come into compliance or seek to amortize the property out. Yes, sir.
The air conditions that's on the back of the church over here, did we drop that out or is that still included in the ordinance, the screening of them?
We grandfathered the screening on the church. Now if they come in and they do some other major remodeling of the church, they have to comply.
Then the air conditioning units would be screened?
Have to be screened, yes, sir.
Okay.
Art,
yes, sir.
Gene, what about this building that looked like it's an old jailhouse? I mean, is there anything that addresses that?
No, sir.
So that's grandfather.
Yes, sir. Because there's the grandfather. The only thing we would address on that would be the landscaping, and we grandfathered in the landscaping. But other than that, unless they came in and tried to do some redevelopment, then it'd be grandfathered in.
display or storage. You always heard Mr. Court talking about his mulch bags. That's what he has outside. And so currently that's all grandfathered in.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Can everybody see what I'm talking about? Since Chris Court is kind of taking over the operation, you don't see near as many mulch bags.
So you're saying the mulch bags are grandfathered in?
Yes,
Right
but
now.
yes, the mulch bags there, that would be outdoor display. Outdoor display is where you have items for sale, and you display them to the public for sale. So that would be outdoor display.
That outdoor display would have to move out and in every night?
No, or it could be screened.
It can be screened.
If it's screened, what would happen is under the proposed ordinance, if it was not grandfathered in, it would have to be screened. So you would not be out there. You would not be able to see it. You would not be able to see outdoor display. So you would not be able to see it from the road. It would be screened.
So he moves them in every night?
No.
Then it's outdoor storage.
Well, it just depends on the items. It could,
I thought that was a rule. If you rolled it in at night, that was
but
display.
But some you take in and some you
fence out there, so.
So Art, you did say they were grandfathered in currently?
Currently, yes.
So if the ordinance passes, it's grandfathered or not?
Yes, it's grandfathered.
Okay.
Grandfathered the way it's currently, the way the ordinance is currently written, it's grandfathered in the IS.
Okay.
Are there any more questions? We're going to move forward. I'm trying to figure out our next stopping point. It'll probably be past City Hall, unless someone has a property that they've got a question on between here and there.
So Gene, you're saying that all outdoor storage is grandfathered?
Yes, sir. Currently, we have the outdoor storage, and outdoor storage is grandfathered. Outdoor display is not. And the outdoor display, it is not been grandfathered. In fact, the outdoor display was one that the recommendation has been to make it apply immediately. Right. And one example of the outdoor display are the high trucks that are across from City Hall. That's one that both the P&Z had recommended, and the ad hoc committee recommended that the ordinance apply to that outdoor display immediately.
But so everyone understands, is this outdoor display or outdoor storage?
Well, it depends on whether it's brought out every day or not. If it's left overnight, it's storage. If it's brought in and out, it's display. So it's just on how to use.
I think Chris got the answer for you on that.
Art, is there any changes?
Lolly has the answer. Yeah.
Is there any changes on this? A couple of churches that we have here, or it's not going to affect them?
No, sir. No changes.
Okay.
Of this heavy equipment, they would be required to screen it, and also maximum height of 12 feet on the extension of their equipment. This RSC equipment center.
But if they lowered it to an angle where it did not exceed 12 feet, they're all right.
They'd still be required to screen. Outdoor display would still have to screen, and any outdoor display cannot be higher than 12 feet.
Well, we just said now in court that was outdoor storage, but this is display.
Well,
distinguish, please.
No, because what you have, you got to look at the actual type of use, and see, and this use is those are out there. They bring them in for people to use them, and they're not. It's not storage like you're storing inventory. So their type of use, this is display, and so you really have to look at not only what it looks like to you, but how the property is actually used.
It really doesn't matter whether it's outdoor storage or outdoor display. It still shows, you still see it. It still has the same effect.
Yes,
so,
and it would still be required, whether the display or storage. They would still have to screen it.
But currently, they're grandfathered in unless you put in the requirement to either screen it, but they have to lower the equipment to 12 feet.
No, but this was one that wasn't recommended to be grandfathered in.
Just
outdoor
on
display.
I think it's just on
the height
of the equipment, not the screening.
Yeah, on the height. Yes.
Just on the height of the equipment.
Like we have a situation here to where they're not parking on the asphalt lot. Would this fall into it? Where they're parking on the grass and on the dirt? Would that be affected?
No, because that provision only applies to the commercial vehicles. Lots that are used for commercial vehicles. That doesn't meet the weight requirement. We'd have to look at some other issues with them, but not under the provision for that provision that we have, the asphalt or the crushed aggregate stone. That's for the parking of commercial vehicles.
So as long as they don't park their storage truck that's got their names on it, that's for commercial use.
No. By commercial vehicle, we use the definition under the transportation code, and primarily those are going to be those that over, I forgot what it is, 30,000 gross vehicle weight.
So
the actual
semis,
commercial,
things of that nature.
Yeah, the actual gross, actual commercial trucks under the transportation code.
Okay.
Christian center, obviously we got a lot of churches, religious facilities, whatever else. If somebody wants to open a beer joint right next to them, that is obvious. I don't think that's under the current zoning ordinance, but do we have any requirements or any restrictions related to that?
Yes.
The city has never adopted TABC rules for distance requirements.
I know, but the state law, there's a state law requirement, and we can extend that. There's a mandatory 300 feet. We can extend it to 1,000 feet.
But we've never adopted
1,000 feet, but there's still a 300-foot rule. It's still 300
So
feet.
if they couldn't open a beer joint next door to that Christian center.
No, but we could extend it so that it could be 1,000 feet away. But the state law is 300 feet. Where was that? What use was that on the trailers that were back there? I didn't see behind the. Yeah. I mean that's their trailers. That's that mobile home use. There's nothing that this ordinance would affect on that.
Okay, but if that trailer ceases to be occupied or whatever, they pull that out, then the trailer can't go back in, or can it?
Yeah. And you always get to replace one. You can replace a mobile home with a HUD code manufactured home. You can always do that. Even if we prohibit them, you can always replace it one time.
Okay. Is there a time gap? Like if they move it out for a year and a half, can they still come back in, or it has to be like a 90 days?
We have to adopt an ordinance that puts a time frame on it.
Okay.
Other than that, there is no time frame.
So currently there is nothing in our ordinance?
No.
Okay.
this ordinance that we're talking about is for non-conforming site improvement and not uses. But if some of these uses are non-conforming, they can stay here forever. But if they ever become discontinued for more than 90 days, for instance, this car service right here, if it was to go vacant for more than 90 days, then that car service couldn't come back because it's a non-conforming use.
Also part of, as we're going down here, you have to visualize 5 to 10 years from now when you're coming down this road with the median, with the growth of the vegetation that's going to be there, and what your sight line is going to be. That's one of the things that we considered in a grandfathered in, or basically saying they meet the landscaping requirements. When this vegetation that's here that the city has put in, when it's full growth, your sight line is going to be down 98, not to the side. So when you have these trees and all that, and all that, it's going to knock out some of those uses over there.
The existing residential is grandfathered in. It can stay here forever until they abandon it or tear it down. And then if they were to tear it down, residential couldn't come back. It would have to be commercial. And we have scattered single family through the island. Did anybody seem to have any questions from when we left the light at the intersection to Cash Road, to the businesses on the right-hand side? They were all either retail or general office.
Well, Gene, because the city did a lot of landscape along 90, all of that's covered. How is that covered as far as up and down on Murphy here? It's still all grandfathered in, or
it's
it's
all
just changed
grandfathered
here?
in
Okay.
until they redevelop. There's a question about a commercial parking lot. We're going to pull in here to this parking lot. They just put in the area for us to pull over. What was the question?
Yes. How about this only gas station? How long are they going to stay?
It's only been there 15 years.
Well, unless something happens where it becomes a hazard, it gets to stay. It's just a business that went out of business, and unless through some code enforcement or some tanks start leaking or something like that, it just gets to stay. And well, they always say the tanks have been removed.
It could actually come back. And how do we keep track of to make sure that all those gas tanks are not leaking?
Well, supposedly, the question was asked: how do we know that either one, that the tanks are been removed, or that the tanks are not leaking? Ideally, when you close a station like this that have the underground storage tanks, you go through the TCEQ, the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, and they're supposed to regulate the removal of those tanks. They're supposed to hire people that were licensed to to remove those tanks, make sure that they're not leaking. So we don't actually know. We just have to trust that it went through the procedures that it was supposed to go through, because we don't get to regulate that. So you would think that all the tanks have been removed. The only question when you have on gas stations that have been around for a long time is there may have been some tanks from the previous gas station. When the new gas station was open, they put in tanks. When they closed, they removed their tanks, but the old tanks could still be there. But we won't know.
This has been abandoned more than 2 years ago.
Yes. But until it becomes a health hazard in and of the building itself, it gets to stay. It gets to stay. The city, unless the city wants to take it through eminent domain, but just because a building is closed, it doesn't go away. It only goes away when it gets to the point where it violates the codes and it becomes a health hazard. Then we have the right to go in and tear it down, or order them to tear it down.
There was a question about some truck parking on Murphy Road. The surface that the trucks are parked on, or is the aggregate finish, not the all-weather surface. But that's part of the ordinance that would allow that as a type of driveway material.
Where those trucks are?
I don't know if y'all can see the trucks. There was no way for us to pull over, but they're just south of that house right there.
So the surface they have is acceptable as long as they keep it dust-free?
For the order.
Yes. Okay. Unless the ordinance is changed to require an all-weather surface.
But the current proposed ordinance there. Okay.
That's correct.
They're not considered that outdoor display or outdoor storage or sale, because that's the primary use of the property. The use is the actual sale, not the building, but the actual selling of the car. So on those, the screening requirements, they do not apply on that actual use. So you'll see there's not much we can do unless we go in and we can specifically start addressing uses and make some building standards on uses. But other than that, if you screen the actual use of a car lot, you basically have the car lot out of business. So I mean, but there are some cities that have now started putting those building standards on those type of uses, but those are cities that are, that have a lot of development standards from the deed restrictions. But currently, we do not have building standards for those type of uses, so that's what we have. That's something that at some point the P&Z or the council can take up, but currently, all the car lots that we have, I mean, they look basically just like that.
But as we talked about before, in the city's part of the right-of-way there, we could do some landscaping
Yes.
if we so chose to.
Yes.
Well, what kind of tree you gonna put up in front of that car on the post there?
A very skinny one.
No, but see, what
Italian cypress.
No, but what you'll find, what some cities will do is just like Lawrence. What kind of tree is this right here that's right in front of us, Lawrence? Crepe myrtles. Like we put on 98 and put those, and you put those crepe myrtles, and when those crepe myrtles, if you picture some crepe myrtles in front of those things, and when they bloom up, it directs your attention down the street as opposed to at the car lots. So the people that are going to the car lots know where the car lots are, but when you're going down the street, when you have those crepe myrtles there, it focuses the people down the street without having to do a whole lot of fencing, and you just put them a little closer than what you have these, and you put them there in the right of way, and it focuses you on down the road. So
none of the Murphy Road or PC area has been grandfathered.
We didn't go by
currently recommended to
for reasons, but the big auto place that's over here, is there going to be any changes? That's the one that's over there, I guess, where Auto Nation or whatever is.
No, where Auto Nation is with no,
it's in a. Well, this lot here, whatever that lot is.
That's not belong to Texas Direct.
No, I'm not saying that whoever is.
Yeah.
Is there any changes in that?
No.
Okay.
On this corner here, you will see the Tri-Gas Welding Products business, and you will see some outdoor storage of some propane tanks, acetylene tanks, oxygen tanks. Currently, they're not required to be screened, but you can put that requirement in.
Art,
Yes.
on what Gene is talking about, are we just talking about what's in this little grass or area here?
No, sir. All those. No, you see those bottles that are over there on the, like in the back parking lot. All those bottles. Sometimes there are more bottles than that. But when they store all those bottles back there, currently the proposed ordinance would require it to be screened, but the properties are currently grandfathered in. But if they were to do some development, then they would have to screen all that storage.
But that would in no way affect those big buildings back there.
No, just the bottles.
Okay.
Does anyone have any more questions about the tour? If not, this will conclude the tour. We're going to go back to City Hall now.
Yay! We'll play ball. Well done.
Thank you. I said to Don.
Oh yeah.
If I may, Felix, I would just like to commend staff and the mayor for the tour and the pictorial era photograph and the information that we were given. And personally, I found it to be very beneficial to actually visually see some of the things that we were relating to in the document. As I made that trek myself, I thought I was on the right track, and I just had it confirmed. So, well done. Thank you to all of you.
Yes, it was very well done, even down to the driving.
Right.
Well, Gene and Art get tremendous credit for putting this together, orchestrating and making the arrangements with the bus company and everything else. So I appreciate the compliment, but they're the ones that really did everything that we needed to be done on this to make it as successful, plan it, to work with the bus driver, the whole bit. So they're the ones that deserve the commendation.
It's also for their commentary during the tour. I thought it was wonderful and very informative. Very informative.
The bus was, there was some other areas that I wanted to stop, but it just limitations of the parking area with the bus, and I thought there were some areas that we weren't going to get out of. And he got it in there and got it out. I don't think he ever hit a curb. I don't know how he did it.
Do we have any other comments on the proposed ordinance and the bus tour? I'd like to say that since we have two planning and zoning commission members out right now, one is on tour, that's who has it, and the other one is in a scheduled seminar away from town. But I don't know if we have enough information now. It seems like we should, but I'm thinking of maybe holding off till the next planning and zoning meeting so we can discuss it further and put it in concrete. Is that acceptable to everybody?
Felix, you're kind of looking at me.
No, I'm going.
I would strongly recommend that. I think literally we need to go home and digest what we saw as well as the food.
Very good. Very good.
And I think, you know, we can think about it. If there are questions that any of you have for Gene, any of you have for Art, that after you reflect on this or whatever, you can ask that between now and next P&Z meeting, which I believe is, what, on the 11th or 12th? No, what date is that? About the 8th or 9th? 8th. The 10th is a Wednesday.
Okay.
But this will give you an opportunity to do that, and please make use of that opportunity. I mean, if there's something, and then I think we'll be in a position to really get down to the nitty gritty next month on the ordinance, and I would agree with Fred. I think it gave everybody an insight. And I think sometimes when you're there, it's one thing when you're driving around your own car and you see something in a setting like we had today. I think that's very helpful and very beneficial. So take advantage of this coming month to study the ordinance, to talk to Gene, to talk to Art if you need to, and then I think we can start on the 9th with a serious discussion of where P&Z is going from there.
Okay,
So-
I agree with that. Do we need
No, we can't take, it's posted not to take any action.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
Just for discussion.
Okay, so we'll just hold that. On this other, we still have some P&Zs, but the engineering report,
So we are moving this discussion to next meeting.
the next meeting.
So we need a motion for that.
No, what we do if you wanna move to the next one is just at 7:30, just convene the meeting at 7:30 in there, and then just close the meeting, convene it, then close it, and everything will just roll over to the next meeting.
Well, do we even need to do that, Art?
Yes, because we posted it. So,
Okay.
because it's posted, then someone may have seen it and they may come at 7, at 7:30. So we do need to be there to open.
Okay.
Yeah, we still have item 4, the report on engineering matters.
Yeah, but you could
We could
just
do
move.
that at 7:30.
You could, or you could just move it to the next one, and all you have to do is just be there and just open the meeting and adjourn the meeting, because you can just take.
Well, let's say, can we ask Lawrence if there's anything in there, because obviously all these items we've been over many times.
Yeah.
Is there anything in there of particular attention that Lawrence thinks should be brought out, and just approach it that way, and then on the 9th we can have a full discussion.
Right.
I don't see anything that's really that important that
Okay,
just kind of an
then.
update and everybody can see it, what that.
Okay, the only other thing I have then, if we postpone that, is the Commissioner Woolrich's request that an order be approved for on-demand webinar. Can we put that off to 7:30 while we open it? 'Cause we'll-
Well, why don't we hear from Fred?
Yeah, right.
So everybody knows what a webinar is.
Thank you.
And then we'll know what to do. That may be one thing you want to take action on after you call the meeting off.
Thank all of you. I received a communique from a company that offers the Loman Company, and they had a subject that kind of got my attention, and it was a discussion on planning zoning techniques for open space preservations. And as I read through it, the items were very specific to my insight as to some of the things that we may prepare for in the future. by attaining this information. So I requested Joanne to put it on the agenda. What it amounts to, the webinar is no more than information we can access on our computers by logging in and actually watch the presentation at our convenience 24/7 for a period designed, what was it, Joy? I think it's 90 days?
90 days.
90 days. So within 90 days, we can at home, you just log in and you can see this information relative to concepts, procedures, ideas, reflections, some instances as to for planning and zoning and some of the things to be considered relative to open space preservation. So that's in essence what it amounts to. In addition, they will give us a hard copy that we can put in our library that we may access in the future, or anyone have access to it. So I thought it was convenient. It brings us into the new technology also. And we saved quite a money because we don't have to travel to that presentation. So I would request support in attaining it. I would be very much interested, and I thought the rest of the crew would be interested in it also.
So this 116 is a total cost?
That's the total cost.
That means we can get,
No.
all of us can get on the website?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think, and I have to commend Joanne, she did call and investigate it for me. How many can access?
Everyone will have access to the user ID and the password, so a multitude of people.
Yes.
Okay. So for 3 months, right? 90 days, okay.
And we'll get a hard copy.
Okay.
Right.
That sounds good.
Any more discussion? We have a motion?
No action taken.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's kind of habit, like,
What would happen if we didn't have a quorum at 7:30?
If we didn't have a quorum, then we have no meeting. We could, if we post a sign that we cancel a meeting, cancel that portion of the meeting, you could do that.
Now, wait, let me understand.
If you didn't have a quorum, then you couldn't have a meeting.
Right.
But if you decide to cancel that 7:10, the 7:30 portion,
Right.
you have to post a sign and say that portion has been canceled.
I think that'd be a lot easier than just sitting here till 7:30.
That's up to the commission.
See, he worried about his dessert that he's going.
No, but you could.
Okay.
What it was posted, the way it was posted was the tour would continue the meeting. We knew that when you came to eat that you were going to discuss what you saw. So this meeting, but then the official action was going to take place at 7:30. Well, we finished a little earlier than was anticipated. So you could, as a commission, decide that you're not going to do the 7:30, but we would need to post on the windows that the 7:30 portion has been canceled. We need to do that.
I think we probably will.
I'll make a
We don't
motion.
need a motion.
We don't need a motion because we don't.
Just write out a deal, there will be no meeting at 7:30.
Because remember, on the agenda that you have in your packet,
Right.
what's on there, it says no action will be taken during this section. So no action will be taken. But if we're not gonna have a quorum, you can't have a meeting.
Right.
So the meeting's been canceled, so you don't need any action, and we'll just post it.
Could we ask our learned legal counsel to write out something on a big piece of white paper on the door that does
There you
what
go.
we need to do?
Well, and then I ask the person that helps me all the time, so she knows who she is.
Carolyn, you did
Joanne, she knows. Anytime when I have to do that, Joanne normally does that.
All right,
Okay, so we attend now?
That would postpone the vote.
So Joanne is going to, this is not a motion, just an instruction from the mayor to, or we'll let Lawrence do it, but to just put, write on a piece of paper, or type it out or whatever, that the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting scheduled for 7:30 p.m. on this 12th day of October 2010 is canceled due to lack of quorum.
No, Mayor,
Or do
if
we
I
know?
could, if we could just we could take the posting that's on the window now, on the 7:30 part, strike through it and put cancel.
Okay.
Just on the
That's it.
7:30 part.
That's the best
And then just
Will you do
retake
that?
it.
I'll get Joanne to do that.
Then we can retake it.
Okay.
Joanne.
I have one question.
Yes.
Does that postpone the webinar discussion?
Well, yes. It's would postpone the webinar discussion, but remember that the city has money set aside in the budget for your continuing education. All it doesn't take an action for that, it just takes a request to the mayor for funding.
Can we
for
make
that
an
education.
executive order on that?
Well, if they come to you for that type of.
Well, I think Fred already has. And since we want Fred to get off on the right foot and to have a good rapport with the mayor, when he joins council, we will take that action.
There we go.
It's just like when he went to the seminar. It's just like a seminar. So you just submit the request to the mayor to approve the seminar.
All right, we'll do that first thing in the morning.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks to my fellow colleagues.
Request in writing?
No, I've got a lot of witnesses here.
Okay.
Is we are done?
Didn't I get it?
Yeah.
We're not making any more?
Nope.
Adjourn?
Yeah, you can adjourn.
We adjourn?
All right, I want to thank all the citizens.
Oh, yeah.
That showed up.
Coming out.
Because I think it's very important. Some people question whether anybody would have an interest. Some people question whether the bus would be big enough. I think all of those questions were answered. It was very helpful, very informative, but I think it's wonderful that you came here and participated with us. And we'd like to thank all of you for doing that, and I hope you'll come back and do it again, and we don't know if we'll promise to feed you again.